So, we arrived to the second phase of case studies. We closed introductory chapter about the formation of world economic system, the basic terms, the basic condition. We arrived to the first real leading city. The early phase of formation of European economic world was a double structure divided European economy, with northern poles around the Low Country and the Baltic area, and the southern poles around the northern part of Italian peninsula. But the first real leading city which constructed the real structure of forming world economic system organized around Venice. Look at the supremacy or age of Venice. Somebody visited a function. So it's a technical sport, which we didn't take into the device. Technical sport. So, okay, it's her. Which was the condition of great success of Venice and the Venetian trader? Basically, the crisis of 14th century. I hope you remember a 14th century crisis, age of Black Death, destroyed a majority of economic and social network and structure of European medieval society. And we can follow on this diagram how proportion of budget lost a contemporary states. Territorial state. We are looking at England, more than half of national budget lost. Why? Because so high the population loss that number and the proportion of taxpayer decreased so much that decreased the budget, the national budget. If we are looking France or Burgundy or forming Spain, decrease of tax income decreased so quickly and so much that the competence of territorial state decreased. Much lower budget, much lower rate of budget for organizing army and so on. So therefore, the competence and the competence of rivalry decreased in the side of territorial state. Territorial state weakened on the late Middle Ages in consequence of disaster of 14th century, the period of Black Death. If we are looking at the city-state, like for example Genoa, like Florence, like Venice, much lower decreased the quantity and the size of budget. Why? Because commercialized luxury goods, spice, silk, and the products which consumer lived in the higher part of contemporary society, and the rate of trade or for high products decreased much lower rate. Therefore, if compare the rivalry, the financial potential of city-state and the territorial state, if the competence and the rate of budget decreased much more than the city-state. And the highest population and highest economic competence was on the side of Venice. Look at the history of Venice. Somebody visited in Venice yet? Yeah. Okay, I suggest to everybody, because it's very special, very special city. It's no similar whole of the European culture. A little bit comparable to Constantinople, recent Istanbul. It's an Eastern Christendom. It's connected very closely to the Eastern Christendom. The Venice founded 60 islands and islets, and the sentence on the following sentence of Venice, Latin, of course, non arat, non seminat, non vendemia. Somebody know what mean the non arat, non seminat, non vendemia? We are not plowing, sowing, or harvesting. We are not a peasant. It's a declaration. We are a proud citizen. If somebody knows the meaning of peasant, it's two different meanings. For example, who was the first peasant? Adam in the Bible. And other one, if you walk into the pub, for example, and somebody name you, you are a peasant, it's never mean good thing. It's under culture. It's not able. It's a bad behavior, and it's a bad thing generally. Therefore, the urban people disdain the peasant. Disdain, and this is a declaration. We are not a peasant. Non arat, non seminat, non vendemia. Okay, sorry. Unfortunately, I didn't load it up, but some majority of audience never visited in Venice. Therefore, it's very useful to see a short movie about this wonderful city. Sorry for that, but it's work quite quickly. Sorry. Unfortunately, I missed this technical introduction. So.
Rising from the waters of Venice Lagoon is a place like no other, the Italian city of Venice. Once the world's greatest port, here protected from the swells of the Adriatic, Venetian merchants created an impossible city of incredible wealth. Long hailed as the most breathtaking city on earth, there is no denying that sometimes Venice can be overwhelmed with admirers. But if you take your time and treat her gently, she will reward you with moments of profound beauty and bliss. Most visits begin in the central district of San Marco, where you find one of the world's great squares, St. Mark's. Arrive with the dawn, and the piazza will be yours to enjoy, without the crowds. St. Mark's Square is surrounded by some of the city's finest architectural jewels, but there are none greater than St. Mark's Basilica, the treasure house of holy relics from the body of St. Mark to a lock of the Virgin Mary's hair. St. Mark was known as Mark the Lionhearted, and everywhere you turn in Venice, you'll see this proud symbol. Across from the Basilica stands the city's beloved bell tower, St. Mark's Campanile. Climb the tower to see Venice stretch out in all her marble and red-tiled splendor. Below the tower is one of the city's great landmarks, Doge's Palace. For centuries, this Venetian Gothic masterpiece was the seat of the Republic's power and prestige. Today, its courtyards, apartments and chambers are a museum, which celebrates centuries of Venetian achievement and glory. Just outside stand the columns of San Marco and San Teodoro, the traditional gateway to the city. Here, under the winged lion of Venice, begin your journey along one of the world's great aquatic thoroughfares, the Grand Canal. For almost 2.5 miles, the canal winds through Venice. It is her main artery, her lifeblood. Ride the Vaporetto dell'Arte and explore the canal's treasures at your leisure. Or ride in true Venetian style by gondola, which Mark Twain once called the gentlest form of locomotion ever devised. Near the canal's southern mouth rises the graceful dome of Santa Maria della Salute. Beset by plague in the 17th century, Venice turned to the spirit of Mother Mary for deliverance. The plague lifted, and grateful Venetians raised this new church in Helena. All along the canal, elegant palazzos, once the homes of wealthy merchants, slip by as if in a dream. The timeless wake of river traffic laps at their doorsteps, just as it has for centuries. Today, many of the palazzos are home to museums and galleries. Carezzonico allows visitors to experience the opulence of 18th century Venice. While Palazzo Grassi's bold restoration and artworks are the perfect reflection of a city that cherishes its past.
Even this is the modern Venice. So, it's very important to realize that history is try to demonstrate not on some artificial things, but the real world, which happened in the past. If we are looking at history of Venice, it's very interesting. From the pictures, you can judge that it's not a real European city, not comparable with Genoa or Florence, a little bit different, a little bit eastern part of the Mediterranean Sea. It's very similar to the Constantinople. Not by chance, elite of citizens of Venice follow the Eastern Christendom. Not a Western, not a Latin Christendom, Eastern Christendom, even in the modern time. About the history of Venice, we have not reliable information, only legends. Most reliable legend are founder of Venice, city of Venice, refugees who escaped on the time of age of migration to the small island of Adriatic Sea. It's legend, no documentary sources about it, but it's the most reliable legend. The second one was a part of Byzantine Empire. A Byzantine Empire was the big brother behind Venetian Republic, because on the early time this was a republic under direction of elected leader, the Doge. The next crucial information, which in the former lecture I spoke about, basically the wealth of city based to the spice trade, a luxury spice trade. Most important rivals of Venice on the spice trade, distributory trade, was Pisa, located on the central part of Italian peninsula, and Genoa on other corner of Italian peninsula. Strength of Venice, protection of Byzantine Empire. Behind a very tiny, very small city, the strong Byzantine Empire on the High Middle Ages early and High Middle Ages saved the position of Venice. The second one, very easy to defend the city. Why? Located to island. This was the priority of refugees, escape from the great waves of migration, age of migration, to island. It's not easy to find and approach. Secondly, somebody visited in the coastal area of Adriatic Sea, Adriatic Croatia, for example, somebody visited, okay? You know that form of Adriatic Sea like a bag. On northern corner of the bag, locate Venice. Therefore, there were two, this is a map, you can see here. This is the Adriatic Sea. There is a two line of defense. The first one, entrance to Adriatic Sea. On the entrance of Adriatic Sea, there is a small island. Somebody know the name of island on the entrance of Adriatic Sea?
Malta?
No? Malta is other side of the Mediterranean Sea. Corfu. It's very famous location of touristical destination. But historically, this was the port of entrance to Adriatic Sea. Not by chance, when constructed the great Venetian Empire, the first step was occupation and conquering on Corfu and fortifying, because this was the island checked and controlled entrance to Adriatic Sea. And second one, if you travel to the Croatian coastal area, a lot of small island. It's ideal for construction and checking the traffic on the Adriatic Sea. And the third line of defense was the entrance to canals, to the channels, inside to the city. And it's very easy from geographical reason to defend the city. Very high economic adaptivity. No innovation which invented in Venice, but each successful innovation adapted. It's quite a typical and successful behavior on the economic life. Look at, for example, the modern enterprises. If we are looking the best and the most successful enterprises came on the second and third and fourth generation. If we are looking, for example, a Microsoft, it's a second generation. And looking, for example, Samsung, it's a South Korean enterprises. It's arrived from the third generation. Why? Because if somebody would like to take the innovation in the first generation, very high the price, because each of innovation necessarily invest huge money. And recently, only one global enterprises is from the first generation of innovation. Somebody know which is the unique enterprises in the modern enterprises? It's arrived first generation of technical innovation and save the position. Even now, April, no any other. And the Venice followed these very old recipes, saved and adopted the successful innovation, and no own innovation which introduced, and control the spice trade, monopolizing the spice trade. This was the secret of success of Venice. And the key for Oriental trade was the Crusade. Crusade, this was a great movement, reconquering of Holy Land, of Near East, Jerusalem, basically. And why so helpful a crusade for Venetian trader? Because traveling to Jerusalem, two ways. The first way, cross through Central Europe, Balkanic Peninsula, Anatolia, Near East, riding for months. It's very exhaustive and very expensive. Other way, walking to the port of Venice and sailing directly to the Holy Land. Its great income came from the crusade for Venetian and Genoese trader. And the crusade founded state on the Holy Land opened the gate for Oriental trade for that. Good. It's this slide I show 2 or 3 lectures before. The first city which specialized to the spice trade was Amalfi, and the second triad on the rivalry for monopolizing the spice trade, Pisa, Genoa, and Venice. Distributor trade basically Oriental spice, pepper, nutmeg, ginger, cinnamon, and crocus. Okay, look at the next. Pisa, Genoa, and Venice. The first rival of Venetian trader was the trader of Pisa. How disappeared Pisa from the floor? Because started a war with Florence. You can see the first map show the position on the war position between Pisa and Florence at the beginning of 15th century. And to the end of 15th century disappeared Pisa. Why? Because lost the war and the Florentine army occupied whole of the territory of Pisa. Okay, left two rivals, Genoa and Venice. The military campaign started very bad because Genoa on the 13th century, at the end of 13th century, was very successful. Occupied famous Croatian, recently Croatian, but on the time it was a Dalmatian island, Kurzola, recently named Korčula. It's a Croatian name of that, on the central part of Adriatic Sea, occupied and won the battle against Genoese, against the Venetian. And to the 1709, occupied even the Chioggia. If somebody visited in Venice, how located Chioggia? Somebody know? No? No? This is the entrance of the channels, the Grand Canal. It's the closest part of the city. It is critical situation because the Genoese fleet occupied even the closest entrance to the Venetian area. Vettor Pisani named to dictator, came from the Roman tradition, which is the right of dictator, not modern dictator, it's a dictator of antiquity. How long should to be dictator? Half year, no longer, half year only, and it's no any boundary for his activity. No right, no legal, no control. And the Vettor Pisani collected the fortune, half of the fortune, each aristocratic family, and reorganized the army. And paid the best mercenaries of high Middle Ages. Somebody know, in the high Middle Ages, which folks, which nation was the best mercenary, best soldier? I help a little bit. It's a Balkanic folk, Balkanic nation. This is a guess. Which nation for military skills was the best? Okay, I ask a vote for Serbians. Who vote to the Serbians? Raise the hand. Okay, no. Croatians? Bulgarian? 2, 3 votes for Bulgarians. Albanians? Albanians. Why? Somebody visited in Albania? It's a mountain area. Walking to the neighborhood, it's a physical judging, physical, physical training. And Albanians, the best warrior, even now, look at, for example, Hollywood movies. Who is the most dangerous mafia in eastern part of Europe? Albanians. Yeah, and not by chance, on other side of Balkanic Peninsula, and the Ottoman Turkish history, the majority of great Vezir, the leader, the great general of Turkish Ottoman army, were Albanians. And the best soldier on the Christian side, Albanians. Why? Because this is a mountain area, and the guest worker, the best paid guest worker, is a soldier. Other story for example, in Europe, the same story, the Swiss people, who are the bodyguards of Pope?
The Swiss.
Swiss halberdiers. Swiss halberd. Why? Because mountain area, well-trained, simple guy. For soldier, it's the best form, psychological and intellectual form. And Albanians of Europe were the Swiss people. Swiss people. Mountain area, very low carrying capacity, and during the crisis, for example, climate crisis, decreased the carrying capacity, and a lot of guest workers emigrated to other part of the world. Albanians was the same in Balkanic Peninsula. Okay, and finally, the long war between Genoa and Venice closed a peace treaty of Turin. Turin, this is a city in the northern part of Italy, and which is the consequence of peace treaty. This long war won by Venetians, and in consequence of great success, for example, first taking out from the term Pisa by Florence, and later victory against Genoa opened the way for monopolization, the luxury trade of spice, and started Age of Venice with Peace Treaty of Turin. And until the end of 15th century, a little bit longer time than 1 century, 100 years, this was the Age of Venice. Age of Venice. Venice organized not only the trade of spice, but the global trade. The global European-based trade in northern part of Europe and southern part too. Dominated, it was a leading city of late Middle Ages. And occupation of Corfu. I spoke about why so crucial. Nobody was approaching to the city-state via Adriatic Sea, because occupied Corfu, the checking island or entrance to the Adriatic Sea. Okay, and organized an inner circle around Venice, occupied Padua, Verona, Brescia, Bergamo, around inner circle of the cities. Good. This is the scattered commercial empire, imported the spice from Alexandria and Near East ports of eastern part of Mediterranean Sea, imported to Venice and distributed whole of the continental area, and later organized a direct sailing way via Gibraltar Strait to Low Country. Okay, this is the network, the map of distribution network. Other reason of great heyday of Venetian Empire, the decline of Northern Pole. Why decline the Northern Pole? You remember the Low Country was basically an industrial area. Production of textile and other iron-based devices, and for demographical decline, you remember 40 million of European inhabitants died in consequence of first and second and the third wave of Black Death. And the demand for the industrial products decreased. And very important, strengthen the Italian, textile industry. For example, rose up Milan and Florence. If recently we try to, for example, define which is the European core area of haute couture, this is a French term, the fashion industry, Paris and Milan. And the career of Milan started in the 14th century. Good. Look at the budget of Venetian Republic. It's very boring information, but this boring information about the budget of city-state clarify and able demonstrate which is the strength, which were the sources of strength of Venice. If we are looking at budget of Venetian Republic, it's the final amount is 750,000 ducats, golden ducats. This whole of the budget. We have no reliable information how many % of national income. It might be 5 to 10%. Why so important? Somebody know how many % able to collect a Hungarian budget, Hungarian governmental budget? How many % of national income able to collecting? How many %? 47. Almost half of national budget, half of national income able to collect. Therefore, very popular profession to be politician. This is the largest uncontrolled amount of money. Half of national income. But the career of national state started from the 5%. We can describe the history of the state, territorial of national state, increase the budget, increase the rate which collect to the national, territorial, and later national budget. In the case of United States, much lower, much lower. It's, I remember the data, 27 or 30%. But the most important problem of the life, necessary solve personally. For example, insurance, for example, education, and so on and so on. Other corner, it's a Scandinavian country. Scandinavian country. In, for example, I stayed no long time, but a little bit in Norway. Somebody visited in Norway? Norway. Tax rate 80, not 18, 80%. 80%. But everything is free. Free education, free insurance, everything is free, very high. It's other model, it's an American model. Everybody necessarily personally solve the problem of insurance and education and every problem of, but very low, the rate of taxing. Okay, turn back, 5 to 10%, early phase of formation of state. The second one, gross national income, in consequence of different calculation, might be changed between 7.5 million or 15 million. This is the whole of the national income rate. Okay, estimated population of Venice on the time, in the 15th century, estimated around 150,000 inhabitants. This is the largest city, largest contemporary city on the late Middle Ages. And per capita income changed between 50 to 100 ducats. Population of commercial empire, including Padua, Bergamo, Brescia, and Corfu, and any other occupied and conquered territory, estimate 500,000. And national income, not the city, but the whole of commercial empire, estimate 1,600,000 ducats. This is the very, very dry information. And monetary flow, whole of the commercial empire, estimate flowing through the financial system, estimate to 40 million. It's very, very boring and dry information. Why interesting for us? Why help to us understand the strength of the city? Because comparison. Generally, if you would like to understand something, the simplest methodology, the simplest method, compare one to other. One to other. Look at, for example, Venice, a city, a small city state, not national income budget is estimated around 800,000 ducats. Whole of the empire, Padua, Bergamo, Brescia, Corfu, it's 1,600,000 ducats. Compare with the France. Comparable the budget of Venice with France. But in Venice, more exactly, 150,000 inhabitants. In France, 70 million, 17 million, 17 million. In the case of Spain, where lived 8 million, no, 8 or 9 million, the budget 800,000. England, population of England estimate 4 million on the time. Budget of state estimate to 900,000 ducats. Hungary, on the heyday of history of Hungary, it's 500,000. Why interesting a comparison? Because a small population, financial competence, was comparable with a large territorial state. But its own a small community. Therefore, activity of them was much higher the efficiency. If we try to understand, for example, we are pushing the wall with whole of the body, it's not successful because the wall is stronger than the large surface of the body. But in the small point we are pushing and we are able to drill a hole of the wall. A little bit same situation happened on the case of Venice. So high the concentration of financial power was the efficiency of activity of Venetian trader much higher, was able to drill through whole of the economic and financial system. Very interesting, I told to you, no innovation which invented in Venice, but each of successful innovation adapted. Look at, for example, innovation of garden ducats. Early and high Middle Ages in Europe minted only silver coins, no golden coins. Why? No reason, because the size of trade so moderate that majority of problems solved with help of the silver coins. But increase the size of trade, therefore introduced a new golden ducats. The first city which introduced and minted golden ducats was Genoa. The second one, Florence, and Venice was only the third one. When tested that introduction of golden ducats, a successful step on the way of minting. Okay, how we use the richness by Venetian trade? Basically, Venice artificial city, and the stability and the physical condition of soil on the small island very unstable. Therefore, necessary it's pushing down a huge quantity of timber material. Came from the forest of Dalmatic coastal area, oak basically. A huge quantity of oak timber, it's pushed down, fortifying the soil surface for construction of palace. Very important, introduced, following a Byzantine model, a diplomatic network everywhere. It was partly a trading agency and partly a political agency. Follow and solved a lot of problem with help of network of agency. For example, one of the most important agency located to Istanbul, capital of Turkey. And good political relation was therefore estimated which is the better solution in the case of danger of military campaign of Osmanli Empire. Paying to the leader of Turkish state, for example, or starting a military campaign against the Turkish army. Which cheaper one? Paying to the political leader or organizing a military campaign, it was the local leader of agency deciding which way we follow the political system, political leader of Venetian city-state. And trading posts, its agencies around the world. And mercenary troops, which was the final tools of solving the problems. Basically, Albanians, military dynasties, generation by generation, received a job on Venetian army. A little bit the same story. For example, other small island of Mediterranean Sea. You know Kos. Kos. Somebody visited in Kos? No? In Kos, it was a very low carrying capacity. Therefore, a lot of Corsican people travel to France as a guest worker, soldier, finding a carrier. Who is the most successful was? Napoleon Bonaparte. But behind Napoleon Bonaparte had a lot of a long history of generation of the soldier. It's a military soldiers or how can I define? It's a guest worker who follow a military carrier in the French army. Therefore, Napoleon Bonaparte didn't arrive from the dust. Behind them had a long tradition of military operation, military practice. Okay, if we try to define, you remember, Fernand Brodel defined a structure of economic world. There is a core area, semi-peripheral area, and peripheral area. If we try to define on the time of Venice which was a core area basically over there in northern Italy, it's a central zone, a core area, Venice, Milan, Lombardy, Lombardy, Genoa, and Florence. On the time of Venice, this is core area of the globalizing European economy. And the second one, a semi-peripheral area, basically the German world, a German world. Majority of city which organize the semi-peripheral area on the edge of Venice, Augsburg, Vienna, Nuremberg, Ratisbon, Regensburg, Ulm, Basel, Strasbourg, Cologne, Hamburg, Lübeck, Bruges, it's a low country, London and Southampton. This is the semi-peripheral. Any other, it's a peripheral area, like Hungary, for example. Okay, if we try to understand the communication, the network of communication of Venice, this is the structure. Two axes are the first one from southeast to northwest, and the other one from southwest to northeast, reached the peripheral area of Hungarian kingdom. You can see here. Okay. Good. You remember this story I mentioned on the early phase of formation of Italian city-state and trade of redistribution, which were the most important subtenants of Venetian trader, local distributor of trade. Partly German merchant houses and partly Jews merchant houses. And Venetian, as I mentioned before, applied a great innovation from Arabian Peninsula, from the Muslim world. This innovation named to fondux, a fondux, compulsory segregated residence. For example, in Arabian Peninsula, from the historical past, applied the technology when arrived to city, Oasis city, one caravan, newcomers closed to a segregated compulsory area. And one district of city separated with walls from other part of the city. Why? Because nobody knows who's arrived from the caravans, and the local criminals might be dangerous from the right population. The same technology applied for a German trader and a Jewish trader. In Venice, there were two segregated areas, closed segregated area for German trader and the Jewish trader. A German trader close to the Fondaco dei Tedeschi. This is a name, one district. And other district named Agattere. Agate. It was a former industrial area. It's recultivated, reconstructed, and named Aghetto. But very important to mention, on that time, no other meaning, no other, this is the name of district. But later, in Europe, ghetto became a synonym and the name of compulsory segregated area by Jews. But in Venice, this is only a name of district. No other meaning. Okay. Why successful? Why good solution? Because any financial and economic operation of German and Jewish trader took under control the Venetian official organization. Okay, the next one. Look at the commercial innovation which applied by Venetian. The first one, the first gold coins. You remember which city introduced, which trader introduced a first gold ducats? Genoese first. Venetian only the third in this ranking. The second one, check or bill of exchange. You remember this story I spoke about on the time of fairs of Champagne, artificial money. Writing some paper, its value is 100 ducats. Artificial money, introduced by Florentine trader, not Venetian, Florentine trader. The next one, holding companies. Holding companies. It's organizing a form of a circle of traders, a circle of entrepreneurs. It's innovated by and founded and introduced by Florentine trader, no Venetian, but applied, of course, in Venice. Double entry bookkeeping. Everybody know what is the double entry bookkeeping? Income and expense. Separation, two sides, income, expense. It's great innovation. No Greek, neither Roman or any other civilization wasn't able to introduce a double bookkeeping. Only a Florentine trader simplified following expense of income. And recently, even elementary school is teaching the double entry bookkeeping. But on the high Middle Ages, it was one of the greatest innovations. Maritime insurance. You know why successful maritime insurance? It's a risk community, forming a risk community. Like, for example, in the car insurance, everybody pay in some moderate amount, but construction of the insurance able to pay the expense of the car accidents. But everybody participates. This is the same situation in the maritime insurance. Each vessel or ship owner paying in, and which city introduced? Florence. Florence. It's very strange because it's not a maritime city. It's a continental city. Okay, and the first regular sea link with Flanders, Low Country, and via Gibraltar, organized by Genoese. No innovation which introduced the Venetians, but each of innovation which I call your attention and recount here, it's introduced other cities. But the winner was Venice. And the last one, the search for direct routes for Indies. A new word. Which city? My guess. On which city introduced the idea? The sailing west, and we will discover the Indies, the Asia, which performed by Columbus, Cristoforo Colombo. Genoa. And my question, in Genoa invented the brothers Vivaldi. It's very famous because well-known musician and compositor. It's a Vivaldi, but its sailor was in the 13th century. A Vivaldi brothers introduced the idea that the best way, finding the direct way to the Indies, direct way to Asia, sailing west, sailing west. And very interesting, this idea appeared in the 13th century, and 2 centuries later performed one sailor who was born in Genoa, in the same place, same city, same city. Okay. Look at the story. This is the location of Bourse of Venice, Stock of Exchange. It's an unbelievable place. If you will visit to Venice, I call your attention. This was the place, open air Stock of Exchange, because during the half summer year, because you know the Mediterranean climate, there is only 2 seasons. Winter half year and the summer half year. And I call your attention, Hungary, there is on the crossroads of ocean and continental and the Mediterranean climate. And in consequence of global warming, we are moving to the direction of Mediterranean climate. It means there is a 2 season change in April and October. Okay, but turn back to this story. This is the open air Stock of Exchange, which is the function of the Stock of Exchange. This is the meeting place between entrepreneurs and the brokers and the other actor of financial and economic life. It's open air, walking on the square and meet with each other, discuss and change the different artificial form of the money. Okay, sorry, it's wrong. Good. The most important innovation of the state was Galer da Mercato. Galer da Mercato, which was a form of galleys, a galleys. 14th century was a crisis not only on the side of territorial state, but even in the economic life of Venice. Decrease the income. Which is the solution of this situation? It's a governmental investment to the economic life. Like happened, somebody know the name of Keynes. Keynes, a very famous American economist. On the time of crisis, the deepest crisis of the 20th century, between 29 and 33, which was the solution? Great state investment. Great state investment. The same technology, even on the 14th century, applied by Venetian government. How? Largest factory of the contemporary Europe was an Arsenal, not a football club from London, it's another one. It's a factory specialized to shipbuilding. It was a governmental factory. And on the Arsenal, constructed galleys, large change between 100 to 300 tons. It's quite a large galleys. And invested the construction, shipbuilding by a state. And the entrepreneurs and the trader and the merchant might buy very, very moderate price. This was the supporting of the local trade. Or might be, for example, borrowing one part of the galleys. Therefore, for entrepreneur, trader, and the merchant didn't have to invest to construction of the building, of the ships and vessels, and organized a network in 3 directions, a trade of galleys network. One direction to Alexandria. This was the main spice road. It was a Galer da Mercato, the southern galleys, and other one, galleys of Galer of Trafego, specialized to the northern African trade. The most important products of northern African trade were ivory, gold, and slave. Ivory, gold, and slave. And the last direction of international trade to Low Country. Galère de Fiandra. Okay. Look at the reason of decline of Venice. Because the success of economic and financial success to the end of 15th century lost the Venetian Empire, the first regeneration of European territorial state. After the great disaster, the great collision of 14th century, regenerated a European territorial state, reached the same demographical level than before the Black Death, around 100 million. Regeneration of territorial state. The second one, a great crisis in consequence of success and the conquering in the eastern part of Mediterranean Sea, Ottoman Empire. Occupied Constantinople in the middle of 15th century, later Kaffa on Crimean Peninsula. You remember the story on the history of Black Death, Syria, Egypt, and the southern coastal area of Mediterranean Sea. And the spice trade took under control of Ottoman Empire. And geographical discoveries, partly by Portugal discoveries on the coastal area of Africa, discovered the direct sailing way to Spice Islands on the Indian Ocean, and the other one, the Spanish discovery. You remember the story of Cristoforo Colombo, who was born in Genoa and followed the story and the idea which invented Vivaldi brothers 2 centuries before. Therefore, in consequence of geographical discoveries, the core area of global economy from Mediterranean Sea slowed to the direction of Atlantic Ocean. Okay. Basically, the crucial operation, as I mentioned at the beginning of introductory lecture, the crucial mention, it's camera is function? Okay, good. Because sometimes I miss the switch on the button, and therefore, time by time, I panic that it's work or not. Okay, it's work. The crucial operation was a geographical discoveries. There are Chinese student in the audience? Chinese, okay. And very interesting, for example, it's possible you know much better than me, that in the Chinese history, on the 15th century was a great chance that not Europe and not the European discover Americas, but the Chinese. You know the story of Cheng Hu, Admiral Cheng Hu? No? Zheng Hu, it's possible the spelling may be different. Zheng Hu was the greatest admiral on the history of Chinese fleet. But he was a Muslim. It was a special. The how the name is Chinese religion. It's Taoism. Taoism.
Yeah.
Taoism. Okay, thanks a lot. In the case of Taoism, no a religion it's excluding, because a Muslim and a Christian, if somebody declare I am a Christian or Muslim, it's no chance for following other religion. In the Taoism, it's no problem. Somebody may be or might be Muslim or Christian or follower of Taoism. Okay, and Cheng Hu was the great admiral, sailed from China, from Nanking to eastern coast of Africa. Much longer the sailing way that from Portugal and for Spain to America. Much longer way. And brought, for example, one giraffe to the emperor of China. And the other one, which verified on archaeological state that Admiral Cheng Hu sailed not only Africa, but to southern part of America, to Peru, area of historical, not political, but historical area of Peru, eastern coast of South America. and discovered a lot of Chinese coins, a lot of Chinese products, and verified that not only a legend, but it was a reality. But it's possible, the story I told to you before in the introductory chapter, on the time happened great invasion of Manchu, a Turkish empire. Later, a Manchu made a dynasty since the 17th century. This was the last dynasty of China. But on the time, on the 15th century, it was an independent empire out of the Great Wall. Started the invasion of the Manchu Empire. Therefore, the Ming Emperor decided no reason for geographical discoveries, closed the country, burned down whole of the fleet, and turned whole of the military capacity onto the direction of saving of Great Wall. On the same time, Europe, a Spanish and a Portuguese sailor sailed and discovered this area. But the chance for Chinese was the same on the time, but dominated by interest of empire, political interest of empire. Europe wasn't a unified empire. It was a local interest which guided the contemporary decision of the contemporaries. Okay, but a geographical discovery is a crucial operation. And why so successful are Europeans in the geographical discoveries? The first cause of geographical discoveries, continuation of reconquest. Which is the reconquest? If you remember the story that Iberian Peninsula, Portugal and recent Spain, on the early Middle Ages occupied troops of prophets. It was a Muslim area. It named a Cordovan Caliphate. Later destroyed the political structure and reorganized with small emirates the area of Iberian Peninsula and started reconquest of Iberian Peninsula. Step by step, this was the age of formation of Catalonia, Andalusia, Portugal, Castile, and step by step reconquered Iberian Peninsula. It's happened, unfolded a little bit longer time than 5,000 years. 5 centuries. A long military campaign organized a very special social structure. 15%, very high proportion of Iberian Christian society were soldiers, noblemen. No estate behind them, only collected income from military campaign. And closed the military campaign when the last emirates, named Granada, is the southern part of Iberian Peninsula, reconquered. And no job for huge number of noblemen. More 10,000 soldiers, no job. Therefore, these professional soldiers would like to find a new place for fight. And behind the great geographical discoveries was a professional soldier who lost the job for closing of reconquest of Iberian Peninsula. This is the crowd. The second one, a Christian church missionary ambition. The Christian would like to distribute the good news about the salvation. Distribute. It's a classical missionary. Not by chance, in the second expedition of Cristoforo Colombo, even 8 monks traveled to Cuba and supported financial and intellectual level the great geographical discoveries. And the Roman Catholic Church is a global organization, international and global organization, step behind the great geographical discoveries. And Turkish conquest on the Mediterranean area I spoke about on the side of the cause of the decline of Venetian trade, and a precious metal hunger. A precious metal hunger don't mean that would like to eat the precious metal. A precious metal hunger, it's possible, I spoke about yet before, that level of development of Asian trade, Indian and Chinese trade, much higher compared with the Europeans. Therefore, the Chinese and the Indian consumer know any European products which would like to buy. Therefore, paying for Oriental products for European, no other way, only precious metal. Therefore, generation by generation, into the direction of Indian economy and Chinese economy, exported the precious metal. This was one of the crucial reasons, introduction of artificial money. Would like to write 100 golden ducats to the paper, it's a bill of exchange, and everybody accepts it. But it's missed the precious metal. Because it's not bad, the artificial money, but much better, the real golden ducats. Not by chance, on that time, distributed and proliferated the legend of El Dorado. You know what means the El Dorado? Everything is golden and silver. Even the trees and the grass and the table, everything is golden. It was a great legend. If we will discover some area, you know, for example, I spoke about a little bit before about the Peru. Original name of Peru, Biru, mean a golden. Therefore, the conquistador imagined we conquered this area and everything from golden. We became so rich. Okay, these were the crucial reasons of success and the causes of great geographical discoveries. A huge number of professional soldiers stepped behind great geographical discoveries. The second one, a Christian Roman Catholic Church with the capitals and with the intellectual power supported the great geographical discoveries. Mediterranean Sea, the greatest source of the richness of European trade, lost the crucial position in consequence of Ottoman Empire and the precious metal hunger. Which was the advantage, international comparison, the most important advantage of European trade? China, India, any technological condition much developed and much better compared with Europe. Only two innovations, which played a crucial role in the geographical discoveries. The first, a technical innovation. New ships, a caravel, it's quite large ships, sailing system, cannons and firearms, cannon and muskets, and the compass. I spoke about majority of innovation. It's introduced not in Europe. Europe only adapted to this innovation. A magnetic compass, it's invented in China. And the firearms, the basic firearms, invented in China or Korea. There is a discussion between these historians. And scientific innovation. A scientific innovation, a mapping system, for example. It was a great innovation of European culture. You remember the story, which is the advantage of low density of population. Openness for technological innovation. Openness for technological innovation. And navigation. And the last of that, art of war. The science of military operation. How? You remember the term of Renaissance, rebirth of antique knowledges. Translated from Latin and Greek, the great memories of generals, like for example, Julius Caesar. And in the Middle Ages, the strategy of a battle was very simple. Two army organized and run into one to other. No sophisticated strategy of that. Somehow, the science of strategy rediscovered from the books of antiquity, retranslated. It was a great advantage compared with the on the history of the geographical discoveries. Crucial innovation, movable cannons and portable muskets. About this story I spoke about yet, and evaluation of infantry. Because if it's a very short survey about the military history in the Middle Ages, which is the crucial troops of military operation. Heavy cavalry. It's a knights. Heavy cavalry. How long the education of one knight? 10 years. 10 years long. It's very, very long procedure of education. There is, for example, a lot of movie about this story, 10 years long. How long the term of education of infantry? 2 months. 2 months. Somebody had a military training? Yeah. Military education you have? Okay. How long? 1 month or 2 months?
Nowadays?
Even no. Not a special force, not it's other
basic training is 3
other
months.
job. How? 3 months.
Basic training.
Yeah, in my case it's much lower because I was a part of Pact Varsovian in on the time of Cold War, and the basic it's a fundamental training was 1 month only. It's a typical infantry for the flying of Kalashnikov. It's the better friend of majority on the world. But it's 1, 2, 3. It's much shorter, not 10 years. Not 10 years period. It's very cheap. Educate a simple soldier. And the best infantry on the time are Spanish musketeers, German Landscats, a Swiss halberdier I spoke about, guest worker of contemporaries, and the Turkish Janissary applied the shotgun similarly. Okay, and the changing date from the heavy cavalry to the infantry was the Battle of Pavia at the beginning of 16th century, when the Spanish musketeers shut down the heavy cavalry. Wasn't able to reach the line of the Spanish musketeers. Okay, but we have a little bit time yet, and look at the following story. Okay. Good. So, close the age of Venice. Look at the next story. We are over the slide. It's 2, evaluation. Okay, look at the story of geographical discovery. A little bit short version, but a little bit larger frame. If we try to understand the geographical discoveries, we are over the precondition. It's a function and the role of Roman Catholic Church and the professional soldier of the Iberian Peninsula. But look at a little bit larger frame in system level. The leader, the first country of geographical discoveries is Portugal. Located on the peripheral area, it's a western peripheral area of European economic world. If we try to understand the position of Portugal, it's very far from the core area. The core area, Low Country, core area, Fair of Champagne, core area, northern Italy or Venice, it's very far from that. Why became the most important innovator against the peripheral status Portugal? If we try to understand the career of Portugal, we can start with reconquest of the island. Started in the early Middle Ages and closed in the middle of 13th century. From the Portugal. Portugal is a little brother behind the big brother, which is the Spain. And the great career of Portuguese conquistador and innovator started with Henry the Navigator. Henry the Navigator. He was the third son, John I, King of Portugal. Why so important his third-born position? Because no chance for ruling. In this position, the third and the fourth and the fifth boy, necessary to find some job, became, for example, bishop or archbishop or general. But Henry the Navigator was a very special guy because he interested for the science. In the High Middle Ages, it's very strange form of the behavior and strategy of life, but he was a member of royal family. Therefore, he received a castle and received quite a large budget for his hobby, which was science. Okay, this place of his activity was located in the most southern part of Portugal, Vila do Infante, on the peninsula of Sagres. And he participated in the trade trade of the northern part of Africa, which the crucial products, you remember, slave, gold, and ivory. And very important for them, great impression took on them, a legend of Prester John. Somebody know the legend of Prester John? A Prester John legend means that it's a contemporary legend that behind the barbaric country, behind the Muslim country, living a Christian kingdom. And the mission of geographical discoveries discover the way to the kingdom of Prester John. Prester John is leader of Christian kingdom. We can optimize to one country. Somebody know? Which country is similar to the legend of Prester John? Ethiopia. Ethiopia. It's a Christian kingdom, which survived with help of Portuguese soldier, because Portuguese soldiers and the Portuguese political leader exported firearms to Ethiopia. Help a lot on the local rivalry with Muslim countries. Okay. Turn back to the story. But located the kingdom of Prester John, Siberia. Located kingdom of Prester John to Amazonia, everywhere. This is a legend. And it's a projection of the Christian. Very far, our brother living behind the barbaric country and Muslim country, and our mission is finding and saving the kingdom of Prester John. And basically sponsored the voyages or to the northern country by budget of Henry the Navigator. Which is the function and which is the merit of Henry the Navigator? Henry the Navigator was a member of royal family and ordered a captain of Portuguese vessels, Portuguese ships, that the logbooks, you know which is the logbooks. This is diary which wrote the stories which happened on the ship day by day, and collected the logbooks, Portuguese logbooks, which information wrote in the logbooks. Direction of wind, direction of ocean current, weather condition, and so on. And the speed of vessels, each of information turned to the maps. Each of logbooks information turned to the maps. It was a big data, which named recently the big data revolution. Turn the logbook information, map, and discover the area of Atlantic Ocean. The better data was on the hand of Portuguese. About the direction of wind, it's no engine on the time. It's sailing. The crucial way of using and the maritime travel, sailing. Therefore, crucial information were direction of wind, direction of ocean current. Not by chance, a Portuguese discovered the way to the southern part of Cape of Good Hope, to the most southern part of African Peninsula, and the direct sailing way to the Spice Island of Indian Ocean. And very interesting, take into the frame, probably you know, majority of audience came from the Faculty of Economics. It's a SWOT analysis. It's a strengths, weakness, and opportunities and strengths introduced by Albert Humphrey in the 50s of 20th century. If try to describe the situation of Portugal, who was a pioneer of these geographical discoveries, understanding the success, we can take into the SWOT analysis. Which were the strengths of Portugal? Autonomous power, free decision, no such dilemma like in the case of China, which is the good direction, following and continue the geographical discoveries, or turn to the direction of saving of Great Wall. Autonomous power followed its interest. The second one, developed economy. Why developed? Because majority of trade organized with the Muslim countries, which more developed majority of European countries, and it's a best strategy. For example, if somebody would like to play some kind of the sport, which is the way of development, playing better player, playing with better player, follow the same strategy by Portugal. And large fleet, why so important? Because the background, if lost some great vessels, replacing the vessels and replacing the staff to the vessels, much easier because a lot of sailors living in the country. Weakness, very far from the European trading and the European core area. It's a weakness. Opportunity, openness for ocean. You can see long coastal area. And Florentine and Genoese merchant, loser of Venetian rivalry, after the dominance of Venetian trader, moved to the western part of Mediterranean Sea and invested huge amount to the Spanish and Portuguese economy. And third, Islamic State. Everybody afraid that the Muslim troops turn back. Therefore, it's militarized the contemporary society. And the forming Spain, the big brother. And some periods, Spain even occupied and conquered Portugal. Okay, yeah, other direction. And good. This is the network of Portuguese maritime trade based to the African trade. This is the phase of discovery of northern Italy, northern African trade and northern African coastal area, and this area, it's a Bay of Guiana, had a free name: Iron Coast, Ivory Coast, Golden Coast, and Coast of Slave. I don't know which was the better one. And this information, the other map, about the mapping of ocean current and wind direction, made by mapper and navigator of Henry the Navigator. Help a lot for Portuguese sailors. The crucial products: gold, slave, and ivory, as I mentioned before. Okay, basically a Portuguese trader and the Portuguese Portuguese sailor, Portuguese conquistador occupied the coastal area of Africa, of course, and sailed to Spice Island. And this is the highway of Portuguese spice trade. And other one, it's won in consequence of First International Treaty, which divided two parts whole of the world. From this line was a part of Spanish Empire, and from this line to the part of Portuguese Empire. This was the first division of the world, happened in the end of 15th century. Okay. This is the diagram about the number of Portuguese ships which organized international trade to the direction of Indian Ocean. This, we can follow the decline of the Portuguese power on that. And the key actor of international trade became Lisbon, capital of Portugal. But crucial weakness of Lisbon, no network of trade on the continental area. It's a little bit same like in the Hollywood movie, after the robbery, the robbers had a lot of diamonds. But selling the diamond, this is the crucial operation. A little bit similar happened with the Portuguese trader. It's won the great bags of spice, but no practice, no any network for European distribution. Therefore, a Portuguese trader necessarily collaborate with the local network traders. Two options, Jews or Germans. And Portuguese decided beside the German. And this is the new area of European economy integration. Most important ports of German traders named Antwerp, located recent Belgium. And this is the meeting point was between German trader and Portuguese trader. And the new age of European-based economy, global economy, named Age of Antwerp. Why is so important collaboration between German and Portuguese? Portuguese imported the spice, bag of spices, in large amount, and the Germans had a distribution network in the continental Europe, and the Germans controlled the mining of precious metal. And the key of Oriental products, a precious metal, was on the time. And we will continue from this step at the beginning of Age of Antwerp. Thanks a lot for your patience, and I ask a little bit more from that for